welcome to the Sheroic podcast. I'm Cassey.
And I'm Lisa.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Miss Lori Harder.
Yes, we do.
I'm so excited to be here, you guys. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
You're a vision of fall right now.
I am, and it's so hot out.
It is so hot out. And for those of you who aren't watching the YouTube video right now, she is wearing like this cute gray slouchy sweater with like tones of red and brown, and her hair is like slightly like purple and blonde. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Well, welcome to the podcast. We've been so excited for this day. Like, yeah, we think you're freaking amazing. So,
Oh my gosh,
thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I was just telling you guys, when you have a podcast of your own and you have to do, you do the prep work behind it, which I love, but it's so nice to just show up and be able to talk and have a conversation. So I'm really excited.
Excellent. Well, for the people at home who are listening, just want to give them a little background on you and what you've done. Like, your accomplishments are incredible. You're a former bikini competitor. Mm-hmm. You're a 10-time fitness cover model. 10 times.
Yes.
Wow.
Legit 10 times. That's insane.
Yeah, that's insane.
You're creator of the Bliss Project, which I know is very meaningful to you. You're an entrepreneur. You have your own business with your husband. And you're a host of the top iTunes podcast. For those of you who don't know, you need to go subscribe right now to Earn Your Happy, which is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So where do we begin?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know most days.
Okay. So here's the one thing that hit me personally, where I was like, you just got to definitely lay the groundwork. And I know that you've spoken about this a lot, but you did a TED Talk and you had, was it 4 tips, I believe, of, was it 4 or 5?
I think it was 4.
It was 4, yeah.
Isn't it funny when you're done, I just put it out of my head. I'm like, oh, I'm done with that.
God,
Okay.
it was so amazing. And you had tied in fitness, like the fitness principles and the mind principles into one. And I found it so fascinating. Cassey and I were talking about just like our audience, I think, will really benefit. The one that hit me the most is taking your muscles to failure and how you can use that in your real life. So can you give us a little breakdown on that?
Yeah, and first of all, thanks for watching it. I think when I got asked what I wanted to talk about for TED, because they basically let you talk about whatever you want, I had to just sit and think of the first theme that has run through my entire life. And number one, it's been resistance or pain, but then it's also been fitness and realizing that without resistance, because the talk was turning your struggle into your strength. Right. And I think that throughout our lives, we look at all of the things that have gone wrong, or we look at all of maybe we feel like we got the short end of the stick, or maybe we feel like we don't have what other people have, and we view it as these problems, or pain is a problem, or struggle is a problem, and it's not a good thing, right? When really that is the thing, especially through podcasting, I've gotten to talk to all of these guests as well. The more pain and struggle that you've had, the more opportunity that you have had to gain even more strength. Because a lot of times if you have not been through something, or you have not experienced certain things, you're not going to be able to grow and understand, number one, who your audience is, and number two, how you can move through something. I would have nothing to talk about. I would have nothing to share. I would have no perspective or point of view to be able to talk to people. So it's knowing that we're not going to skip over the pain, because I also think that's not a great thing to be like, oh, I'm good. Yeah, that was painful. Okay, we're over it. Right. But it's really about feeling it, understanding it, and asking what the lesson is in it, and how are you going to get stronger from this. So that's what the talk was all about, is just looking at those struggles in your life and saying, what is this trying to tell me? Because I believe what we are resisting is going to keep persisting if we don't look at it and say, how is this trying to get me to step up and get stronger? How is this calling me to become a bigger version of myself in order to go through the pain, go through what I'm struggling with? So that's always run parallel. It was like, I have fitness, which in the gym, we can't get stronger without lifting heavy weights.
Right. Without the resistance.
Yeah, without the resistance.
Without
it's like
the failure of the muscles.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's looking at how that runs parallel in your life. Every single thing you're learning at the gym is running exactly parallel with your life. It's like you want to get stronger, you want to get better, you want to get more fit. You have to keep increasing that resistance. You have to keep on upping the weight. You have to keep on showing up. You have to be consistent. And I'm like, this is the exact, I feel like once I got into self-development, I felt like I was reading about fitness, to be honest with you. So it was like I already had that reference point for life. But if people were not in fitness, I don't think they, really got to understand the importance of you need that weight and resistance.
Why do you think it's so easy, though, to know that and understand that about the body, but it's so much harder about the mind? Do you think it's you can see in the mirror, right? You can see every day, like, oh, I'm getting a bit of more definition. I'm getting a bit of muscle. Whereas the mind, it's not so visual like that. Like, do you think that's it? Or do you think it's something else?
As you're saying that, it just popped into my head that I don't necessarily think that it's seeing it, because I know that you guys also work with a bunch of women who want to transform their bodies. And I think that it's knowing that people have gotten results before, because there's only peace in knowing that, let's say I sign up for a workout plan. Really, it's about, they want to know the transformations, right? Those are typically the most successful things, even when we're talking about sharing our programs and things like that. They want to see who's done it before. They want to hear how it worked, and they want to know how the journey went. So I think with self-development, it's just that not enough people are speaking up about the pain and the struggle. I think what they're seeing is the successful side, but we don't sit down and go, okay, yeah, I did that TED Talk, but let me tell you about how many times I cried in order to get there, or how much I was in my head, or how painful this was, or how much I doubted every, step of the way. But what I did was, you go to the people who've done it before so that I could hear the stories of what it was like to prep for a talk, what it actually felt like, all the fear around it. You're never going to feel like you're ready. So I think it's important for, just like you're doing right now, really showing that part of the story, because it's not about just getting there. It's like we need to see the people who've done it before. We need to be hearing these stories more, or I don't think we will do it. Just like with the body. If I could never see the results of people, I would never put myself through that pain. Right. So it's kind of, I think it's equal in that regard.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you backtrack and let's talk about your bikini experience? Because I went through one myself back in 2012, and then the Popsters know, kind of like, for me personally, like, it destroyed my body, but I think that it was attributed to some of the things that my coach had me do. But can you explain your experience with bikini competition and how that has strengthened you and what you've learned along the journey?
Yes. Okay, so did you do one?
I did one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I would have done one, I probably would have been like traumatized for life.
Interesting.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about this. Very interesting.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's bikini competing was one of the most interesting, beautiful, and awful. It's so perfect because it's everything all in one for me. So the reason that I had started doing it, and I did it for 6 years, you guys.
Wow.
So, and I did quite a few. I was doing
how
like
many
4+ per year, basically.
Wow.
So for me, the reason that I actually got into doing bikini competitions was because I had a lot of fear and anxiety. And I also had never gotten my body to do that, like get in the best shape of your life, or so we think. We're calling it something different now, but I'll talk about that too. So I wanted to create that transformation externally, but I also needed to prove to myself that I could do this, because I came from a really restrictive religious background, and I was homeschooled through high school. So I was increasing like social anxiety, even though I felt this calling that I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to teach people. I wanted to help transform people, but my anxiety was getting worse. And I was like, I have to do something so dramatic to prove to myself, like almost like pattern interrupt, right? Like, let's shift this idea. Let's shift your mindset around it. Because if you can do that, in my opinion, at the time, it was like, then I could do anything, right?
Isn't it interesting that you go to the extreme?
Oh, I went so far extreme.
Because you knew you had to push yourself to really get there? Is that...
That was a huge part of it. But also that began a bit of extremes in my life.
Okay, that's interesting.
So what happened was I started doing that, and the first year I did really well, like right out of the gates. And
In
then
the competition world.
in competing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And from there, I got a coach and everything so that I could, also help see. That was huge. I'm so huge on tribe and I'm so huge on coaches because I could have never done this alone ever. And thankfully, I got a really good coach who was all about being as natural as you could possibly do it, and not too crazy of depletion. So what happened though is I naturally put my own kind of pressure on myself as I really started competing in like the second and third year, and I just started applying my own pressure. And
Meaning what? Like restricting more,
meaning
working out
restricting more
longer?
food, restricting carbs, thinking that the only way to do this was because that's what you start reading, that's what you start thinking you're seeing. And so for about 2 years, I remember walking around just feeling like if I wasn't competing, I was putting on weight. Because I had struggled with my weight before this, just always ups and downs. So if I wasn't competing, I was struggling with my weight and I was feeling really blue because you know what happens when you take carbs away from women? We get crazy. So you don't feel good. I mean, your brain is meant to have them so that you can function.
Oh, yeah.
Depressed,
I was angry.
anxious,
Yeah.
angry. It was really fun to be around. My husband loved it. No, he hated it.
It's interesting that you said you got into competing because you struggled with your weight. Because same thing with me. I felt like this was the time I got to prove to myself that I can get there to know that I'm strong enough to do it.
Yeah.
And it was cool getting there, but it's interesting because even when I was there, I still looked in the mirror and thought I was fat.
Totally.
Like, it's so mental.
Oh my God. I look back and I look at some of these pictures and I'm like, oh my God, I want to give her a burger. And I was like, it was when I didn't think I was lean enough.
But how did you go then? Like in that first year, you said you were doing well.
Yeah.
So why did you feel the need? Because I think this is a very common thing with women in general, right? Is that you go to achieve something, you hit it, but now you that isn't satisfying enough. So what was it if you were doing so well in that first year that made you change, go even further, and then get into this vicious cycle?
Because I was seeking validation from competing. Okay. So no matter how well you're doing, and no matter what people are telling you, no matter how you're placing, if your validation is on the outside of you and not the inside of you, it's never going to be enough anyway. So a lot of that, because I was raised in the way that I was raised, and I had never gotten really attention from, I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to do all these other things, but I was not allowed to get involved with anything that had people outside of my religion in it. So with that said, it was kind of like, I think I was just seeking to be seen, and that's how it manifested, was these competitions. I was getting attention, I was getting love, and I was finding like this identity with it. So what happens though is because I was looking so externally and seeking more externally, the more that you do well, the more you want to do even better, and the more it's never enough. And it was like, it would have never been enough looking back, because I did it for so many years. I ended up winning 3 titles that have never been won in the same year. And it was the most depressing time of my life.
How interesting is that? Because you weren't doing it for yourself.
No.
So you weren't fulfilling your body and your soul.
No, I actually had a moment. It was, and I like sharing this so that people can understand, what we think we're waiting for is never what we're waiting for typically, unless it's, you've done a lot of work. So I had won Ms. Bikini Universe, Miss Figure Universe, and Ms. Bikini America all in 1 year.
Wow.
And I went up to my room afterward, and I had like all of these trophies sitting around me. And this was it, right? Like this was the pinnacle moment. Like I should feel really good.
Yeah.
And I was up in my room, and it was just me and my husband, and I was like, now what? Like, now what? Because I spent all this time trying to get here, and nothing is different. No one's knocking down your door for anything, like nothing. And I felt empty, because in that moment I was like, I have been waiting for this moment, except I missed all the moments with all of these women. Now, mind you, I made friends and stuff, but nothing like I could have made.
Yeah.
I was like, I missed the journey.
Yeah.
Like I missed it. And it was just this gut-wrenching moment of realizing that everything, it was all about the moments in between. I just wish I would have let them sink in even more of the camaraderie. And even though I did enjoy that, and I had never had that before in my life, it just was realizing how important that stuff is. It's the people, it's the camaraderie, it's the moments before the stage, it's the laughing, it's the ups, it's the downs, it's what you're learning on the way. And it was like, now I look at, am I enjoying the day within the process of that which I'm striving for? Because if I'm not enjoying the days in the process of that which I'm striving for, then that which I'm striving for is going to be even less fulfilling when I get there. So it's looking at the journey instead of the destination and saying, how does that journey look? Right. Because the destination we know is like fleeting. It's like, what? Maybe you get an evening of it on Facebook looking at like, hey, awesome. And you don't really know who these people are either. And you never feel it because you're not allowing yourself to enjoy the daily.
Yeah, and with, as you know, with transformation stories and stuff, people like seeing that after, but you don't know if that after is going to bring you the joy. It's about enjoying the 3 months or the 2 years or whatever of getting there, because that is your life. Life is a series of experiences. It's not a destination at all. If it is, that's a moment and then it's gone. So I think it's so important that you said that you had everything that you wanted and yet sat down in your room and were like, what now? I think that's so powerful to share. Going back a little bit deeper, you mentioned that you came from a very religious family and you wanted to do something outside. Like, how was it breaking away from that and doing bikini competitions, which is like, I'm gonna guess, really different. Can you talk about that?
I love that you're asking that, actually, because this again is like one of those parallel things in life.
Yeah.
So for me, because I was raised so differently, I actually had to, for a while, and some people aren't going to like this, but I also think you're going to understand, and maybe you've done this in parts of your life, where you actually have to almost remove yourself for a while from a certain group of people, or from a certain tribe or from your environment in order to be able to go change, because I really do believe that your environment is stronger than your willpower. If you're not recreating your environment all the time or trying to recreate it. It's like if we want to stop smoking or drinking, yet we go to the bar every single night. Like you're just not going to be able to overcome that if it's already in you. So for me, it was, I had to get so far outside of that world to know who I was and what was okay with me and what I actually wanted. Because thinking this way or being in this group type of think that I was in was not allowing me to figure out my voice. It wasn't allowing me to face my fears, because it was very much like, yeah, we have anxiety. Yeah, you're going to struggle with your weight. We have bad genetics. This was what was going on, you know? And I love my family and we are in great terms now and we talk all the time and they're amazing. And they understand that too. I mean, they struggle with that. They know that their environments are super challenging. So for me, it was like I moved away for a few years right when I turned 18 and I did not talk to people much. I just didn't.
And that was a conscious act for you.
It was a really conscious act. It was almost like, I don't know if anyone listening to this can resonate, but when you just can't breathe, you feel your inner self so trapped inside of you and something is so much bigger that you're being pulled to. It's like your higher self is having a freaking temper tantrum every single day because you're not letting her out. Him, her, whatever it is. So for me, that voice was getting so loud that I had to go let it out. And at first it came out in ways that just maybe I had to get things out of my system and figure out what was going on. And I went to kind of another bad crowd, and it just, not that the first crowd was bad, it was just a different way of thinking. But I got myself into some trouble for a while and realized, whoa, that's really not great. And then started to find my way. So I think it's just like everything else, just trial and error and listening in, because for a while there when I first moved out, I wasn't listening. It was like I was just removing myself without doing the listening part, giving myself the space or the silence. It was like I always had to be busy. I always had to be around people. And when I wasn't, it was too much for me to handle.
Because you didn't want to be in your own
I didn't want to be in my own head.
You've said something which I absolutely love, and I'm going to use it now, is everyone drinks the Kool-Aid. What do you mean by that? Because honestly, when I heard it, I was like, I'm going to steal that.
Okay, I love this, because either way, you know, let's say you're turning your life into something really positive. Let's say you went to Tony Robbins or a self-development event and you would come home and you are just like rah-rah all the way. You love your life. You're doing these great things that make you feel good. And people are like, oh man, you drank the Kool-Aid. And you're like, yeah, I did. And it's fantastic. I've never been this happy. And I have ideas for my business and my life and my relationships. And what happens is you know, that you can take that as a negative connotation, but I'm always going to drink the Kool-Aid that's going to make me feel amazing. Like, no matter what, if there's a Kool-Aid stand and I'm like, give me that. If you feel good, I'm going to drink that. Because if the people who are saying that, they're drinking their own version. They're drinking you know what, I believe the world is not that great, or life is crappy, life is hard, I'm struggling. That's Kool-Aid too. You're just deciding every single day which one you want to partake from. Because every single moment, every single thought, everything is a choice. So hands down, no matter what, I'm always going to drink the happy people Kool-Aid. And I don't care how crazy it looks, because if it makes you happy, that's exactly, following that feeling is exactly where you're meant to be.
Is Kool-Aid still around?
I see stands all the time on Montana Avenue.
Wait, seriously? Wait, there's stands? What do you mean there's stands? No, I mean the actual packet.
I think so, because they say Kool-Aid or lemonade stands, you know? But I believe Kool-Aid is still around. But
Okay, because I just had this epiphany that somebody at the marketing team at Kool-Aid needs to do hashtag drink the Kool-Aid and make it like a huge campaign.
Well, the problem is it was such a negative. Wouldn't like the
but they can
die and
they
stuff?
can like turn it around.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean someone died?
So I didn't know this story until I came to America, because
tell
someone
me.
was saying like, oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm like, no, I'm drinking coffee. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
They're like, Lisa, it's a phrase. Wasn't there like a whole Kool-Aid thing with like there was a group of like, oh God, I don't know how accurate this is, but there was like 20 people, and they like poisoned the Kool-Aid, and they had everyone drink it, and everyone died, and that's why they're like,
I
saying
gotta
you
do my
drunk-
Kool-Aid research.
I gotta do the research. I have
But
no idea.
But that would make sense.
But that's where the phrase comes from, where it's always negative, because Kool-Aid ended up killing all these people, and they all think like, being they were all together, we're part of this tribe, we're all going to drink this drink together, and it was Kool-Aid.
What?
And it,
Okay,
like, killed a bunch
I'm
of
gonna
people.
look it up right now, and you guys keep talking, and now I'm like really curious.
But in fact, talking about tribes, though, I know that that's really big and prominent in your life, and I absolutely believe the same thing. You know, you're a definition of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and so it's very important to make sure on who you're surrounding yourself with. And so that kind of goes hand in hand with the Kool-Aid thing about your tribes and choosing. Can you go a bit deeper into why tribes are important, and then why choosing what Kool-Aid to drink is important?
Tribes are so important because there is a moment when you have to go from who you are to who you're going to be. And that's a really lonely gap right there. And it's a scary gap. And if you don't know what's in the middle, you're going to go back to the original tribe, right? You're going to go back to where you are. So tribes are for transition, or tribes are for transition so that you can transcend. That's really all it's like the transition into the other side. Because if you don't know what's on the other side, like I said, if you don't know what's coming, if you don't know that there's going to be some pain, if you don't know that there's going to be some bumps, you're never going to be able to do it. So it's like you have to go and seek the tribe that's already doing what you want to do so that you can know what is on the other side. Or we're never going to transition, because transitions are not meant to be done alone. And I think that when we look at transforming, creating these different transformations, we're like, oh, being an entrepreneur or changing our bodies or going to this next level, it's a really lonely road, or it's lonely at the top. I absolutely think it can be the other way, because my life I've been like a massive experiment for trying tribe, right? Like, people told me writing a book would be insanely hard, painful, and I would hate it.
Part of people in your tribe told you this?
A lot of people I heard just around around writing a book, that it was like so painful and it was excruciating, and the launch and this, and I was like, no, I'm going to find like a tribe of people to do it with me.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to be able to discuss it and make it fun. And honestly, it's been the best thing I've ever done in my life. I think it's been the best experience because of recruiting these people and also finding other people who enjoyed the process. So kind of like going and talking to them and seeing what their tips, tricks, and secrets were, So I think that tribes are huge for everything in your life. You go to the tribe who is thinking the way that you want to be thinking. And honestly, if you feel like you're not fitting in the room, it's perfect. If you feel like, oh my gosh, this room is making me so nervous, I can't believe it, that is the room you want to be in, for sure.
If it's a good nervous. Like
nervous.
People who want to make you be better.
Yes, totally. Where you're like, oh my God, what do I have to offer these people? That is going to make you step in to your higher self.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how else are we going to become that woman that we know we're meant to be if she is not torn out of us Because if she's not forced out, I don't believe she's coming out. So it's like going into the places where you need to go in order to push this version of you out. Or you're going to be comfortable. I mean,
But
it's
how do
easy
you
to be
actually
comfortable.
do that then, right? Because there's something amazing to being comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're in that place where you're super comfortable, but it's not moving you forward, what would you say to yourself, or what someone out there listening, like what are the things they can say to themselves to actually go, okay, I'm comfortable, but this isn't necessarily good for what I want in the future? Like, how do you...
Well, I believe there's like this there's this nice dance between both. Like, we don't want to be uncomfortable all the time. I'm not saying like, it's uncomfortable. I'm saying like, be comfortable when you're at home with, maybe you have your group of friends that you can kind of discuss or whatever your life with, or kind of process. But make sure, I really think it should be a weekly thing at least. Make sure you are going somewhere, or making a coffee date or a lunch date or something, or doing a workout, or going and visiting something that pushes you far outside of your comfort zone. It should be a normal thing in your schedule, that when you are booking everything on Sunday night, that it says, you know, what's that one thing that's going to help you grow this week? Because we're meant to grow. Like, if we're not growing, that's that point where if it's been a week, or if it's been 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you're going to start feeling a bit stale, because we're born to grow. Like, this lifetime is all about experiences and growth.
And we're literally growing, evolving, and getting older every day as we speak.
Yeah.
And so it's only natural to do that with your mind as well.
Totally.
Yeah. When I was younger, I used to do this thing where I would make sure that in every class that I took, I'd raise my hand and ask a question, because that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It also annoyed the other kids, but it was just something that I wanted to know that I was pushing myself a little bit more. And now looking back, I'm like, okay, good little Cassie, you're doing something. You didn't know what you were doing, but it was good for me.
And we're no different, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
still
same
annoying
thing.
people. We're like, okay, this is good for me, but I'm definitely annoying majority of the crowd.
And at the end of the day, I'm asking a question so we can all learn something
Totally.
new. I remember, I might have told this story in another show or podcast, but like literally class was supposed to be out. It was our marketing class. And I was like, wait, you wrote something on the board. What is B2B and what is B2C? Just explain really quick. And everyone was like, are you kidding me right now? But I like needed to know.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone else needed to know too, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Another thing that you need to know is that you were right.
I was
okay,
right about Kool-Aid.
So I'm on Wikipedia right now. Can I read this little paragraph?
Yeah,
Okay,
go for it.
This phrase derives from the November 1978 Jonestown deaths, in which over 900 members of the People's Temple who are followers of Jim Jones died, many of whom committed suicide by drinking a mixture of a powdered soft drink flavoring agent laced with cyanide and prescription drugs like Valium and et cetera, et cetera. The actual brand of soft drink flavoring the mixture of both Kool-Aid and a competing brand Flavor Aid.
Yeah.
So
I
that's where
actually
that
thought
came
it was a
from.
few hundred, but I didn't want to like make it dramatic. But
900.
yeah, that's why they say drink the Kool-Aid, because everyone has that similar belief and they all buy into it, even when it can be detrimental to you.
Right.
So that's actually why I loved when you had said like everyone drinks the Kool-Aid of some sort or another, because it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you buy into something altogether and a belief system. And when you're finding your tribe that has that same belief system, then you can kind of grow and be a part of that and really feel like you belong.
It's so true. It's like, what is the real normal and what is the real crazy? To me, now that I've been living this lifestyle of creating happiness and really seeking tribes that help lift you up and doing what you love and creating a life that you love. Now, when I lived in the Midwest, that is crazy. Like, thinking that you can have this happy life and work for yourself and do exactly what you want to do, because that is my inner belief to my core. That was crazy. So it's like, now that I've been over here long enough and drinking that Kool-Aid long enough, to me the normal seems crazy. So it's like, why wouldn't you do that?
Well, take us through that then. So you've competed, you're absolutely miserable, you're at the height of your success. And so how did you get from that to now being such a positive force and speaking up and speaking out and doing your amazing podcast? What were the, let's say, 3 key things that you had to do to get there?
You know, I had this moment where I really realized I had been training women and opened a gym back in Minneapolis. So while I was competing, I had started training women. So I was really getting my finger on the pulse of what's going on with these women during this transformation. So they're coming for the body because they think it's going to bring so much other stuff, right? That's why I built the body I built, is because I thought if I'm fit on the outside, I must be strong, confident. I must feel amazing. I must be happy, right? And that's what they were coming for. Okay, I'm going to come. I'm going to build my body with you. I'm going to hire you to be a personal trainer because I believe everything is going to be better after this, right? Well, I was finding no matter what we did or how long we worked out or if their body changed or not, it didn't really change their happiness by much, you know, unless they changed their mindset.
Yep.
So along the way, the ones who did change their mindset, you know, I could see how that was assisting in the transformation and just in their life and their relationships and what was happening. Everything was getting upgraded. But the ones who didn't change their mind, we could work out 5 times a week and nothing would change. A lot of times, not even their body would change if their mindset was not changing. So what started happening is I was talking to them because I was getting into self-development more at this point. Just more adding a bit of mindset within my training. So as I was competing and realizing that I was really starting to learn that this wasn't just about the body, not even close. So there was this transition from fitness person to realizing that I think I wanted to do self-development. But I was like, what does this fitness girl have anything, like any right saying, now I'm going to do like these self-development events and we're going to talk about mindset and how you can rewire your brain. And I was like, can I even do that? Do I like need to be a psychologist? Can I even be talking about this right now? But something in me was like, you have to talk about this. Like it was not really being spoken about at the time. So when I started doing it, it was like realizing, how do I take this identity from being a fitness person and moving it into like the self-development world?
Because you had purely an identity being fitness.
Yes. At the time it was like just fitness. So every day I just started, you know what? I just started daily, like on social media, just saying, how is this going to go over with my people? And I used it for me, like expressing myself and kind of working through my stuff. Now, I don't necessarily suggest working through your stuff on social media, but it just resonated with everyone. So every day I'd show up and instead of fitness, I'd be like, I'm going to do like a mindset thing. Maybe it'll run parallel with fitness, but we'll see. So then all of a sudden, after about a year or two of that, I really noticed people were starting to come to me for more mindset stuff and then a bit of business stuff after that, then even fitness stuff. So the original question was?
Yeah, so like what that you went from being, you know, miserable in fitness where you thought you had achieved everything you'd ever dreamed
To where you are now.
to where you are now, where you're very sad, because you've said I'm very happy and satisfied with talking about mindset, with really making a difference, and just wondering, because I think whether it's fitness related or, you know, even the people listening that isn't specifically fitness, like when they've been striving for something so much and they finally get there and they find, wow, I'm miserable. Like, what are the tricks that they can put in their life to get out of that loop and then to actually work towards something they love? So for you, it seems like you had seen almost like, even though you were miserable, in seeing it in other people, like, do you think that was a big connection for you?
I always think if you can teach and be around other people and just the more that you can connect and ask questions too, the more you're going to learn around other people. But as far as transitioning, the transition was happening without me realizing it.
Right.
So even when I hit that place of being like, what's next after this fitness thing, I had kind of already started talking about mindset. I think it was the moment of realizing that didn't make me happy. And now I have to do this big, scary transition that is not popular right now. And am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be taken serious? Is this even something that I think that I can do or want to do? So for me, it was like the transition from realizing I'm not happy here. Thankfully, I kind of knew that my soul was like, I think you might want to start talking about mindset.
But was it because you found the mindset empowering? Like, what was it then that made you choose that?
Because looking back, that was the only thing that actually got me through competing.
Okay.
It wasn't really even, it was more, I didn't realize how much I was learning along the way, and just the mindset that you had to have, and the forgiveness even around yourself that you had to have. And, even though I got to these places and wasn't extremely happy, I still was much happier than I was before, because at the same time, I had learned so much about myself and the process of getting to where you want to go. The process of pushing yourself, but also having grace and forgiveness, because you have to, or you're never going to pick yourself back up, right? And the process of hitting a wall and realizing there's a lesson there that you have to grasp in order to move on, or you're just going to keep hitting that wall over and over and over again. It's like, here's the wall and it has writing on it, but you keep banging your head on it and not reading the writing.
Step back and read it.
You read it and you're like, oh, it says go around. Okay. All right.
I love that metaphor. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So I think it's just realizing there's always something else, but sometimes you got to go up and get that 30,000 foot view,
Yeah.
or you just can't see it,
Yeah.
Well, what about the people, because we get asked a lot, when people go down a certain path, whether it's, I'm going to study biology, and then all of a sudden you realize I want to be a painter, right? Some people find it very difficult where, let's say, because you've been going out to all your friends and all your family, you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and maybe people don't believe in you, and you're so excited, and you get there and you're miserable. Some people feel paralyzed by changing the course because they're so, well, I've just been preaching it for like the last 2 years, and it's like, how do I change that course? What advice, like, did you feel that in fact yourself? Or if not, like, what advice do you think you could give people that they could help change, like not getting paralyzed by that?
The first thing is to never identify ever with a label, because you are an ever-changing soul on this planet. You could be one thing the next and another thing the next day, like dependent upon your experiences. And the second we label ourselves, we put ourselves in a box, and it becomes totally inauthentic to who you are.
You kind of feel imprisoned by that label, which isn't
100%.
even true. But I also find that when people attach to a label, it makes them feel like they belong to something.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
My friend always says, you're this and. Like, you're...
Right.
And there's an and there. It's like you can go for psychology or biology or whatever you want, but you're that and what else? And a lot of times that thing that you think you're going to be, like fitness, I look at it less as identity and more as just an arrow, or like a director. It's like a direction. So maybe the thing that you're interested in, it's just like a cruise ship director for the moment. It's just kind of like, yeah, come over here. Let's see if you like it. Let's see how this feels. If not, this was absolutely a part of your journey. So don't deny it. Don't be like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Why did I do that? I got stuck in this. It's like so appreciating it and loving it, because if I didn't have fitness, I would never have this foundation or platform, and I would have never met the people along the way. So really being grateful for whatever that offered you, and seeing it and understanding that it's offering you either a platform or the knowledge or the complete contrast for you to see what you do or don't like, but to let go of it and know that at the end of the day, it's just got to be you. Like, are you happy? And nobody really cares. They don't care. I don't care if Mary went to college for 10 years to be a doctor, and then tomorrow she says, oh my God, I want to be a ballerina. I'd be like, awesome. Are you taking classes yet? Like, how are you going to do that? So, and I'm not saying just quit your job in a second, because I've actually had these transitions over and over. Like when I owned my gym and started network marketing, I was so empowered by wanting to empower women in business as well. And I can't tell you how many days I came home to my husband and I was like, I want to close my gym tomorrow. I'm like so done with like being a trainer. And even though I loved it, I had to reframe, right? I was like, I am grateful for these women, for this experience, and for the money coming in now. And I'm not going to transition until X, Y, and Z is completely more than taken care of and has exceeded this over here. And until I've really fully like reframed and gotten the lessons from it and been able to put that, put that away for now or forever, where it feels really good and it's not so abrupt. So after stepping back and realizing I need some more time with this while I build this over here, I'm a firm believer in building your dreams while you're doing that thing that you say that you don't enjoy now, but seeking the joy in it. Once you find the joy in the thing that you are not doing now, your other thing is really going to start to flourish even more.
Yeah, I see it's like a chapter in your book, right? It's like it's a chapter, it might be number 2 and you may have 20 chapters, but kind of to ignore it doesn't then give it the power that I think it can deserve, even if it was a miserable time in your life, but you can use that as a, mechanism to write the next chapter and the next chapter, and it becomes a part of you. I use the words yet a lot, or right now. So like right now I'm doing this. Right now I love this, or I'm going to do this. I haven't done that yet, because it's going back to like just not being dogmatic about things, right? If you find that you don't like something, don't then be dogmatic and say, well, like that was a part, I hate it, right? Like you could talk so negatively about your experience as a competitor, right? You could be so bitter, you could, pour hate into that world. But you don't, and you actually use it as a great learning tool for what you're doing now. And I think that's a really powerful lesson for people to hear.
If we really look back at everything that's ever happened to us, there is so much beauty in every single part of it. Because if all of us had not experienced massive pain in some form, we'd be completely unrelatable, and we'd never be able to teach from that really beautiful, grounded place and hold space for people ever. We'd be like, that sucks. Sorry about that. That's never happened to me. So it's not only understanding humans, which I think this whole life is just being able to understand and have compassion at a deeper level. So every struggle that you're going through is just this beautiful offering and gift of strength on some level of you to become a better teacher, better at what you're doing, a better business person, a better wife, mother, friend, whatever that is.
Did you struggle after you hit that pinnacle point of winning the 3 different titles and being super lean, and then kind of going back into quote unquote regular life? Did you step on the scale or measure yourself and feel like at any point like, oh my God, I'm getting fatter, I'm worthless? Like, did you go through that?
Oh my God. I still can suffer with that. Like,
okay, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, all the time. Because my identity and love for a long time was attached with the body, right? With people saying, going out and people saying, oh my God, you're so fit. Oh my gosh, your arms. Oh, that's a hit, right? Dopamine.
Yeah.
And it's like you associate, this is how I stand out in the world. So until I found, because we all need to be significant in some form, it's just how are we finding it? Are we finding it in somewhat healthy ways? Because we all dance with, I don't care who you are, we can dance with unhealthy ways of doing it on the daily basis because we're human. So I feel like for me, it's still to this day, like I can be like, oh, I'll watch my brain be like, I want to show up there this way, or I want to do this, or I want to be recognized like this. And I'm like, how about you step back and reset your goals? Like, I still want to be as fit as I can possibly be, because to me, that's something that is a standard I want to hold for myself. But I can tell when I'm getting to the unhealthy point. Like, I hear it in my brain.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have little things, markers that you're like, oh, red flag?
Oh, yeah.
What are they?
Sunday nights when I'm like, okay, so I'm going to just drink juice till 3 tomorrow. And then I'm like, no, you're not, because that never makes you happy. Okay. And this is not knocking any of that. This is knowing myself so well. I'm like, what has happened in the past when you do this? And not just going, well, I got really lean. Yeah, for what? 2 nights? And then you went so far to the other side. So for me, it's a constant, like, I love socializing. I adore food. I love the experience of food. I love the experience of friendship. But right now I'm even on, like, I'm kind of on like a small detox because I've been doing the going out, friending, speaking. I just wrote a book. I was eating a lot. I was eating like a dark chocolate bar a day during my book, you guys, which Hey,
it takes a lot of energy to write a book. It's a lot. Yeah.
So I was giving myself grace around that, right? I was like, okay, my clothes are really tight right now, but this is a time period in my life, and I'm enjoying the process.
It's a period. That's all it is. Not
that's
forever.
What I have to tell myself all the time. And honestly, nobody can tell. Like, they're just like, you're still a beautiful, fit, amazing person. And it also reminds me that my identity is in how I make people feel. So I'm always trying to remember that. It's like, They don't care if you have abs if you're making them feel like crap. So it's kind of like you're remembered in the experience of how you're making them feel. So go back to that. And if you can make someone feel amazing, you're not going to be thinking about your weight that day, I promise you. If you're so caught up in flow and the things that you love and you feel connected to source and you're making someone feel amazing, you do not care what you look like in that moment. You put on a big sweater and you high five everyone.
I love that.
But that actually reminds me of the Danny J quote where she said, I asked myself, would I still hate this body if it wasn't mine?
That's so good.
I
love her,
I
by the way.
know. She's great, right?
I just saw her
But like
this weekend.
it just so hit me when I read that. I was like, it's so true, because we get so caught up about what other people think about you, right? But the truth is that you wouldn't judge someone for that same thing. But so why do we judge ourselves for it?
It's so true. I love that quote. You just reminded me about, because so often we're so anti-extreme, and while I am fairly anti-extreme, it's like you don't know what the middle is until you've been to both ends. So sometimes in life nice. You have to use extremes to find the middle, because if we don't push ourselves so hard sometimes, like in business or building a business, which sometimes you have to go full throttle to get the rocket through the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
So, but what happens is once you go through, you're like, whoa, okay, that was maybe too much for me. What would feel good? Okay, if that was the top of the top, what would feel good? So sometimes we beat ourselves up for being so extreme. But I had to dance in extremes for a long time to know what was working for me and what wasn't. And I think that's human nature. Is one time, for a while I was either not doing anything, and then I had to go to the extreme of doing everything to find what it looked like in the middle to dance within those like two boundaries, so.
I love what you said about dancing around the extremes to find your middle. We definitely need to make a quote out of that, because that is so true. And to forgive yourself for getting to those extremes, because you don't know, like, what am I capable of? Because that is an extreme. Like, that is like your potential. And then also extremes are the storytelling and the beauty of life. Like, there's ups and downs. If you're always in the middle, isn't that kind of boring? I mean, I think comfortable and boring and all that kind of stuff are a fine line, but you have to experience everything to appreciate what you have. And so thank you for saying that and letting people know that it's okay to be a little crazy once in a while.
Seriously, all of the most amazing people I've ever met, I'm like, tell me about the crazy.
Yeah.
Because I want to know. And it's always there. I was just at this conference with a whole lot of crazies. And let me tell you, I mean, it was amazing, but it's also realizing it's only the crazy people who are going to change the world and themselves.
This is true. This is true. You're going to push the boundaries, do something that is not normal, and make people a little bit uncomfortable. But that can be a good thing sometimes.
I agree.
Okay, Lori, so what do you think is one superpower you can share with everyone that they can take out of themselves?
I think the superpower of, I mean, for some reason this is just coming up for me right now, but the superpower of grace and space and forgiveness, because
Within yourself for other people? Okay.
Well, for other people as well, but within yourself, just when you feel yourself wanting to go to that extreme that did not work before, just forgiving yourself and just going back to what would feel good, what makes you happiest, what is something that lights your soul on fire. But forgiveness and grace is probably your number one tool for a faster comeback rate. And really at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
I love that. So the superpower today is grace, space, and forgiveness. Lori, where can everyone find you on the socials?
My website is loriharder.com.
Okay.
Otherwise, I love Instagram. It's kind of where I'm always at. So just at Lori Harder.
Perfect.
Which your website's beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That took a long time.
People need to go check it out.
And we'll put all
Thank
her
you, guys.
info in the description box. Lori, you're incredible to have on. You have such a warm soul. It really matches your outfit today. I just have to
thanks. I'm
say.
sweating.
Very cozy. We should get together with Danny J some point.
Absolutely.
It'd be really, really fun. All right, guys. Well, now that we're done, don't forget, be Sheroic!